Well, hello there, all my followers of darkness, shadow scavengers, and villain aficionados. Welcome, bienvenue. Here I am, your good old Lord of Shadows, and this is Shadow Talk. There was a certain anime TV show that was revealed amidst all the other Star Wars content on the recent Star Wars celebration in Japan, and I'm talking, of course, out of all of them, that really made my heart pumping. It really blew my mind and like got my excitement for it, like basically reaching for the skies. I'm talking about I'm talking about this show, Star Wars Maul Shadow Lord. Oh man, I mean, you know, like when it comes to leak trailers, I can never remember seeing a leak trailer so many multiple times like this one. Oh man, like I've seen it so many goddamn times that it just simply got my excitement for it like higher and higher and higher. But one of the things that really made me happy about it is that we're gonna finally get a villain centric Star Wars TV series. We tried that with the Acolyte, we kind of got that, but this is the shit that you can call it a villain centric Star Wars TV show, and I'm so happy and so ready for it when it comes out in 2026. I mean, out of all, I mean, don't get me wrong, all the content in Star Wars Celebration was exciting and interesting, but this is what really made me excited alongside Ahsoka season 2, but this is my number one. Oh man. First and foremost, I just have to say that it is so great to see the Clone Wars animation back. I mean, it kind of looks a bit grittier, unlike Star Wars, unlike like Star Wars: The Bad Batch or the Clone Wars, but or even like Star Wars Tales. But still, like seeing the animation and also getting better and better and cleaner. Like, oh man, it was so like, oh man, this is like one of the reasons why I'm so excited for the show. The animation, even though it was a leaked trailer, the animation looked amazing, beautiful, and almost clean with the what kind of graphics I had when I was watching the trailer. So yeah, like the animation. Oh my god, I cannot wait to witness the show with the Clone Wars animation. Oh man. But one of the questions that, of course, I was asking myself ever since like it was announced, and of course I was trying to follow like Sam Witwer, and all the information that he could give us when it comes to like what the Mole Shadow Lore TV show is going to be all about and everything. And so the question so basically with all the things that he basically said, or should I say revealed, the question I was asking myself is basically, what's the plot? What's the plot going to be all about? Because like we did get some information, like for example like the story is going to happen between Revenge of the Sith and New Hope, which could literally be in almost every single part of the timeline between those two movies. That basically we're gonna see Darth Maul trying to live in the shadows of the underworld, during the reign of the Galactic Empire, kind of like seeing what the world has come to and everything, like getting like a lot of different perspectives, kind of seeing more of his character, and basically also at the same time, which is also one of the things that we also theorize as well. But it looks like we're also going to see him trying to rebuild his criminal empire, or should I say, the Crimson Dawn, basically. But like again, Sam Witwer said a lot of different like elements when it comes to the, what we could imagine for the plot to be. Because again, I've said a lot of different things right now. Like number one, like I said, it's going to happen between Revenge of the Sith and New Hope. We're gonna see Darth Maul during the reign of the Galactic Empire, and we're gonna see him like go through a lot of different craziness, throughout that time, and kind of also seeing the Galactic Empire from his perspective, also kind of the same time, basically, seeing like basically kind of like getting an idea as far as Sam Witwer said, like is this like what I was fighting for? Like, is this actually we were planning, like ever since like the Phantom Menace and everything? So so basically, we're definitely going to see different layers from Darth Maul's character. But the other things that he also said is that this show is going to be about bad guys versus worse guys, and that's one of the things I was so happy for him, for Sam Witwer to actually confirm, because because I love that he was like with Kay Sackhoff, like on his on her podcast, and he was basically saying that this show is not going to be you're gonna find out Darth Maul is such a big teddy bear. He's misunderstood. If you had coffee with him, you know, you understand how great he is. And then basically after that, he said, we're not doing that. Like, I was like, man, yes. Like, finally we're going to have a hardcore, villain centric story, And I love the idea of like bad guys versus worse guys, basically, as Sam Witwer said, we're going to see Darth Maul, basically seeing everything happening, from his perspective, like the overall humanity, sort of in him, because as Sam Weaver said, Darth Maul is gonna is flawed, but from a perspective of the Sith, because basically, as Sam Weaver said, and that's a great idea what they could explore in the Maul Shadow Lord thing, is that how evil is he? Like, is he evil as Darth Vader? Is he evil as Darth Sidious or Count Dooku? Like, how evil is he? And from that perspective, yes, he's flawed. And I love that idea. I really like that idea. But anyway, going back to the overall plot, like what's gonna be Maul Shadow Lord all about? I think it's gonna be basically like two things. One, he's going to try to rebuild his criminal empire, as I've mentioned 2 minutes ago. And second, we're going to see him basically going through a lot of different craziness during the reign of the Galactic Empire. And I think one of the plot points is going to definitely be that he's going to be hunted down, which is one of the reasons why we saw Marok, or the First Brother, the Inquisitor, in the trailer. So I think the overall plot, I think that's basically what the main overall plot of the show is going to be. At least that's what I see it. Now, one of the other things that we have seen in the trailer is, of course, that Maul will actually have a possible new apprentice. And for what I've seen now, some people are saying she's red, but for what I've seen, she looks like a bit pink. But some people have been theorizing, is she going to be Darth Talon? Now, if for anyone who doesn't know who Darth Talon is, basically she is a character from Legends who appeared in the Star Wars Legacy comic book series. She was a member of the group called the One Sith under Darth Krayt, and and she basically appeared in the story as 100 years after Return of the Jedi. Now in George Lucas's original version from when it comes to the sequel trilogy, George Lucas actually wanted to bring Darth Talon, back to canon, basically, and also as Darth Maul's apprentice. So, is this is the crew behind this show? Are they trying to use George Lucas's original ideas? Is this female Twi'lek gonna be kind of like the canon version of Darth Talon? That's the kind of that's the kind of thing that kind of makes me wonder. Now, is she gonna be the actual Darth Talon? I don't think so, but I think she might be a version of her. I think she's gonna be like a overall version of her. Now also one of the things is how long this will last. When it comes to the overall apprenticeship between her, let's call her Darth Talon for now, okay? For between Darth Talon and Darth Maul, how long this apprenticeship will be? Because if you see previous should I say apprentices of Maul, from Savage Press to Ezra Bridger and everything, and now this one, well, it wasn't that good. It was very slippery. So how long this one will last. But one of the things that kind of really made me curious about this show is one of the things that no, not curious. Sorry, the wrong choice of word. I was saying one of the things that really got me interested is I really want to see this particular relationship between this female Twi'lek and Maul, because I have a feeling this is going to be some sort of a special master apprentice relationship. I think like yeah, I think out of all of them, I think like this might be like the closest kind of like Sith apprentice that Maul will get. And also the question I have: will she betray him in the end? Because like that's one of the Sith specialties. Once when a Sith apprentice betrays their own masters, which of course is kind of like a final test when it comes to like becoming a Sith Lord and everything, or in this case, Sith Lady. So how long this will last? That's a good question. But so far, I'm really kind of curious to see where they're going to go with this new apprentice. That's for sure. Yeah, and so definitely one of the things that really makes me interested in the show is basically the overall relationship between Maul and this new apprentice. Now, and again, going back to the question, will she be like a canon version of Darth Talon? I don't know. But so far, as everyone is saying, it looks like it might be. Because, like the crew behind it, basically them using a lot of the original ideas from George Lucas's like original trilogy idea. Original trilogy, sorry. Sequel trilogy idea. Sorry, my bad. But who knows? Who knows? But so far, definitely I'm interested in this new character. Speaking of characters, another question I had: who will return? Like, who will appear in the show? Now, one of the things definitely is that we're going to see many different crime syndicates. That's for sure. Like for example, one of them being the Pikes. We're definitely going to see some crime syndicates. Now, the question I have: will there are two characters that appeared in Solo movie. Like one of them, of course, is Drayden Voss. The other one, I always keep forgetting her name. Kira. I always kind of keep forgetting her name. Some people might say that Kira and Drayden Voss actually could appear in the Maul Shadow Lord TV show, which, I will be honest, it's a possibility. It's a possibility to see them appear. It's a possibility. Maybe like, when it comes to Kira appearing, maybe we could see like the overall kind of like how Kira and Maul met. Basically, how she became part of the crime syndicate. Now, when it comes to Drayden Voss, he looks like he was already part of his crime syndicate, even like during the Clone Wars season 7, because we saw that little hologram of him, which kind of makes me think like, will Paul Bettany come back to voice him? That would be cool. So besides them, who might also appear? Now, one thing I do know is that we're gonna see definitely like two characters returning. One of them is that female Mandalorian that was with Gar Saxon. What was her name? Oh man, what was her name? Oh man. Let me just check. She was in Clone Wars season 7, and she also appeared in the Son of Dathomir comic book. What's her name? Oh. Let me just a minute, guys. Let me just check. What's her name? Rockcast. Yes, that's her name. Yeah. So we're definitely gonna see Rockcast appearing, and we also definitely gonna see the first brother, aka Marok, before his appearance in Ahsoka season 2. So those two characters are definitely returning. But the question I have is, are we gonna see Gar Saxon back? Which other characters might appear? Now, the characters I think they're going to be off limits are definitely going to be like Obi-Wan Kenobi, Yoda, Anakin, the Emperor, and now Ahsoka. I think she might appear, but I don't think she will, because the way how the timeline works and everything. And please don't mention that canon breaking bullshit, please. But for the way how the canon timeline worked between Clone Wars season 7 and Star Wars Rebels, Twilight of the Apprentice season 2, I have a feeling she will not appear in Maul Shadow Lord. She might be mentioned, but I don't think she will appear. And also other characters. Now, are we going to see, for example, other Inquisitors? There's a possibility. There is a possibility we might see other Inquisitors, because for what I've seen, it looks like Marok is not going to be the only one who's going to hunt him down. Remember, we had the 8th brother who was hunting down the Shadow on Malachor on Star Wars Rebels season 2 finale. So I believe there might be some other Inquisitors that might appear in the show. More specifically hunting him down. Now, of the other characters who might also appear, one of my friends said, "Oh, but how about Quinlan Voss?" No, I don't think he will. I don't think he will appear. Let's see who else. Now, one of the other questions, of course, that a lot of people have also said, are we going to see Darth Vader in Maul Shadow Lord? Well, for Darth Vader, again, he's a very delicate character, and every single time they use him, they're always been very tactical, like how to use him when it comes to TV shows and animation. So, it depends. Now, Maul Shadow Lord. Now, one of the reasons why we might see him, and that kind of brings me back to the Darth Vader comic books, which is kind of like showing Darth Vader in his early days. When he was hunting down other Jedi's alongside his Inquisitors. So before he took the command, before he became officially the second in command of the Emperor and everything. So and now again it depends on when the timeline of Maul Shadow Lord is going to be set. So if it's set during the time when Darth Vader was hunting down the other Force sensitive users with the Inquisitors, then we might see him. We might see him. Some people even suggested that we might even see Maul actually facing Darth Vader, face to face, face to mask. But I don't know. I think all these characters, and of course a lot of people jumping to like I said, Darth Sidious to Obi-Wan Kenobi, Yoda and all those kind of characters. But those characters are off limits. They're really off limits. So I don't think they would use them. But Darth Vader, there's a possibility. There's definitely possibilities. Now, speaking of crime syndicates, we're definitely going to see the Hutts. More precisely, Jabba the Hutt. We're definitely going to see Jabba the Hutt. I have a feeling we will. So because like I said, one of the things that we're definitely going to see, we're going to see other different crime syndicates for sure. Like the Pikes, the Dark Sun, and many different others. So yeah. Besides that, now I'm really thinking who might appear as well in the show. Because it's difficult. Because again, there were different clues and elements that Sam Witwer revealed, but again, they were more towards Darth Maul's character than the actual plot, because the plot is still a mystery. But for what I've seen, I think like this show is going to have more new characters than some old characters returning. But if some of the old characters returning, I think they're going to be maybe characters we have seen like either in the Bad Batch or the Clone Wars. Maybe some Force sensitive, maybe some Jedi who survived. I don't know, but I think like we're gonna see more original characters than old ones returning. But out of all of them, I think like when it comes to like I said, the besides Rockcast and Marok, I think like we're definitely gonna see some Inquisitors. We're definitely gonna see some crime syndicates. For sure, alongside Drayden Voss. Kira, I'm kind of 50-50 on her, but there's a possibility. And maybe Darth Vader. But the others, I don't think so. And I kind of mentioned it also before, but how long will it last? That's the question. Now, I can see Maul Shadow Lord last like more than just one season. If it's successful, it might last for multiple seasons. Now, multiple seasons, that's a tough one because, it depends. For instance, Star Wars Rebels lasted 4 seasons. Clone Wars 7. The Bad Batch 3 seasons. So again, it depends on how long they're going to extend the story. How long will it go? Will there be some time jumps? How close we'll get to New Hope, or maybe how close we'll get. Well, no, actually, how long we'll get towards New Hope, because spoiler: Darth Maul dies in Star Wars Rebels. Fighting Obi-Wan Kenobi one last time. So it depends on how close they will get to Star Wars Rebels. Actually, that's more precisely. But I can see Maul Shadow Lord again if it's successful, and I do hope it is. But I can see Maul Shadow Lord being a multiple seasons kind of TV show. Now, when it's speaking of multiple seasons, how long it will be. I don't think it's gonna be like Clone Wars, like 6 or 7 seasons. I think Maul Shadow Lord will either be, and again, I'm kind of being, I'm not being pessimistic, but I'm kind of being careful. But I can see it maybe as the Bad Batch. I can see it last maybe 3 seasons, maybe even like Star Wars Rebels 4 seasons. Like, so I would say minimum 2 seasons, maximum maybe 4 seasons, maximum, if it's successful. And I think it will be, because again, it all depends how the story will go and how much they're gonna extend it. That's the biggest question. But I can definitely see it being a multiple season. I don't think it's gonna be like a limited thing. I can see it as a multiple season TV show. Now, the other thing I also was wondering how the show will end. Now, if it goes, normally, without without the fear of being canceled and everything, what kind of an ending will Maul Shadow Lord have? Now, some people, now me alongside a few of my friends, we were talking about Maul. They would say, like, oh, the end is definitely going to be, like how he ended up on Malachor. I think, like, there's going to be some, like, big fight, like either between him and his apprentice, or maybe like, again, him and Darth Vader, and like, and maybe like, and definitely like, his criminal empire is going to be destroyed, his Crimson Dawn and everything. So, maybe Maul is gonna, escape all this, and somehow, miraculously, he landed on Malachor, and of course, his plane is being destroyed or damaged or something, and basically he was stuck there. He got stuck there for many, 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 many different years before Ezra and the others came. Some people might suggest, that this is how the ending is gonna be. It could be. It could be. I don't know, because again, it depends on how far they're gonna go. But yeah, I feel like the Maul Shadow Lord, because usually when you have like those TV shows, usually their finales are kind of like happy-ish, especially when it comes to like the Bad Batch or Star Wars Rebels. Clone Wars season 7 is not exactly that much happy, because like with everything that happened in Revenge of the Sith, so you kind of get the idea. But Star Wars Rebels and the Bad Batch, they actually had like a happy ending. So when it comes to Maul Shadow Lord, I don't think it's gonna be a happy ending. I think it's gonna be like a villain-like tragic ending, in which like I think the perfect ending for Maul will be where Maul loses everything. He loses his apprentice, he loses criminal empire, he loses his followers. He gets humiliated and defeated. And basically you see him like running away. He's like running. Maybe an enemy is chasing him, and he gets blasted, and that's how he basically somehow, and while his ship was damaged, he somehow miraculously, he ends up on Malachor. And that's basically how the story went. So I mean, again, it might not be like that, but that's at least the kind of ending I'm expecting. Like kind of like since it's a villain-centric story, I'm kind of expecting it to be like a heavy, tragic, sad ending. I don't see it being happy, at least the way how I see it. So yeah, with that being said, that's kind of like so far what I have when it comes to like Maul Shadow Lord. Again, like with everything, again, everything that Sam Witwer gave us basically is like some, there's gonna be new characters, there's gonna be some old characters returning. He gave us a lot of information when it comes to Maul's character, and kind of like conflicts that he's gonna have, not just simply with his point of view and the Empire, but also with himself and everything. Finding a new apprentice and all. So but with everything said, that's kind of like my overall thoughts of like what Maul Shadow Lord is gonna be all about. Kind of like some quick thoughts, in general. But I do have high hopes, and that Maul Shadow Lord is going to be successful. I do have high hopes for that. And with that being said, here's another Shadow Talk that came to an end. You guys know the drill. Rate the video, comment, like, subscribe. Give me personal thoughts and ideas. Are you excited about Maul Shadow Lord? What excites you mostly about about the show. Which characters do you think will appear in the show, or should I say returning? What do you think about the new apprentice? Just simply everything about Maul, Shadowlord in general, just simply put in the comment section down below. And as always, stay tuned for more, guys. See you guys next time, or as I like to say, Lord of Shadows signing off. Or, even better, later, fuckers.